You know, I can still recall one of my earliest memories from childhood. I had to be on like 2 years old or something. One of my brothers sat me down in front of the TV. He puts in a cassette tape, and that was my very first encounter with Dragon Ball. I can remember the episode so vividly because it was the time when Vegeta resurrected on Namek. He flies up to the dragon and he sees Goku as a Super Saiyan for the very first time. Camera pans out and you can see his body. You can feel the strength radiating from him. If you've been caught up until then, you know how significant that moment is, but at that time I didn't really appreciate that. I was a young child. All I saw was people screaming, all bloody and fighting, and I was just so scared. I started crying. But as you can see from my tattoo, my figurines here in the dorm, my Goku pillow, and the way I still hop around when I'm warming up like Goku from the Broly movie, I'm pretty obsessed with Dragon Ball still. And people have tried to shame me for it. For all my life. But I never listened. Because I love Dragon Ball. Because it's a part of me. I shouldn't be afraid of loving myself. Hey, I'm Eli. This is how to live. I'm 20 years old at the moment, and I can't recall a time when I didn't love Dragon Ball. Of course, there are the basic reasons like, oh, the fights are so hyped, the way Goku screams, and all the glow, and all the beautiful lights, the fights, everything. And yeah, that's part of it. There's some story there as well, which you can appreciate. But I think many people may resonate with the fact that my connection with Dragon Ball is on a far deeper level. You know, my father unfortunately left me and my mother when I was around 3 years old. While he occasionally kept contact with us, I never really spoke to him. Never really got to know him, you know. When I was around 18 years old, I reconnected with him, sort of, got to know him, and I got to love him in a sense. But he wasn't there for me when I needed him the most. I have 2 elder brothers, love them dearly, they're great men, but they have their own families to deal with. There are many problems that they have to face all on their own. They just didn't have the time to look after me like that. And there was my mother as well, and bless her soul, she's a great woman, but she's not somebody I'd look up to. The way she raised me unfortunately made me pretty weak, pretty shy. There was no real role model in my life. Nobody I could look up to. Nobody who I thought I wanted to mold myself after. With a singular exception. This fucking guy right here. Because if you take a look at what Dragon Ball is about, the way Goku progressed, the way he was just a small little kid and he progressed to fighting with the gods themselves, that's inspirational as hell. And he's been there for me all my life. Whenever I was feeling down, whenever I felt like I needed guidance, I could always turn on an episode of Dragon Ball and Goku would be there. He'd be strong. He'd be kind. He'd be brave. He'd be everything I'd ever want to be. This unfortunately didn't inspire me to do much for a while, but when I actually started my self-improvement journey, when it actually came down to it, Dragon Ball showed me that it was worth loving for all these years. One of the best examples of this is when I started going to the gym. I was there in my high school's gym, and me and a few guys were there. We started deadlifting because it felt cool. We didn't really know what we were doing, but it was so cool and that you could lift so much weight. And then they packed up 140 kilos for me. It was my turn to lift, to try it. Nobody else could do it. So I tried it, I squatted down, grabbed the whole of the bar, and it felt so fucking heavy. It felt so heavy that I instantly wanted to give up. It felt impossible. I just thought that I could never do it. But you know, subconsciously, you don't really want to give up. There's always that something within you that tells you to just try one more time. Because that was my chance to prove myself. To not just them, the others, but to me as well. And in these trying times, there's something that needs to motivate you. Something that keeps the spirit high. Something that keeps you engaged and forces you to actually go through with it. And what would it be for me? Would it be the people who abandoned me? The people who raised me to be weak? Or the people who ruined my life? No. It was Goku. In my mind, I imagined him appearing beside me. He bent down and grabbed a hold of the bar and told me not to give up. And guess what? Despite my terrible form, despite almost injuring myself, I fucking lifted that shit up and I was so proud of it. To this day I feel proud of it. And that was just one of the many instances. Even though I've gained many great friends ever since, I've met people who I can look up to, I've gotten to know people who I want to mold myself after. Goku is still my number one motivation to this day. He means so much to me. And people try to shame me for this. All my life. They ridicule me for loving Dragon Ball. They believe it's childish. Why are you still watching cartoons? Why don't you do something manly for once? And stuff like that. When I was younger, I actually fell for that. I tried to separate myself from Dragon Ball, from anime, from games. I tried to engage in stuff that the other people like football. But yeah, that wasn't really happening. I circled back to loving Dragon Ball because that was my fate. Because I love it. It's part of me. And I shouldn't be ashamed of the fact that it's part of me. Yet people still try to shame me for it. They try to belittle me for something that's a core part of myself. And people in life will often do that, as you might have experienced. Hell, as you can see, I'm not really the whitest guy in the room right now. I'm Romani, Gypsy, whatever you'd like to call us. And the casual racism here in Hungary, in Eastern Europe as a whole, is incredibly insane. I just can't comprehend it sometimes. It's terrible. The way I'm treated, the way my family is treated, the way my people are treated, it's disgusting. And it made me feel bad about being brown, about being like this. Solely due to the fact that because some people are bigoted and want to treat us like trash. I felt bad for something I couldn't control. I didn't choose to be brown, of course. Neither did anybody else. Nobody who faces prejudice really wants to be like that. But they shouldn't feel like they have to change. They shouldn't feel like it's their fault. You know that, don't you? Deep down, there's something you love, something you're ashamed about. But you shouldn't be. Of course, there are things in life that you have to change eventually. It's called self-improvement for a reason. There are things you have to let go of. There are things you have to fix, such as lack of fitness, lack of confidence, lack of knowledge. But there are so many things about you that don't need fixing. They're just part of you. Every one of us has to strive for an ideal version of ourselves. And I see my ideal self before me right now. And it includes Dragon Ball. And it includes who I am right now. And who I want to be. Accepting yourself and improving upon yourself is a tough journey. But hey, you don't have to do it alone. Feel free to leave a comment and I'll try my best to get back to you. Thank you for watching. And you shouldn't forget, don't be afraid to love yourself. Bye.